All right, it says we're live, so hang on one second. Hello, Facebook. If you are seeing this right now, we are here for round 20. Ooh, 20th episode of the Broker Showdown. So just give me 1 minute as Brian and I share to all the socials. Oh, it's on my page now, Brian. I don't know if it's pulling up for you.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, I'm going to share to the Broker Talk Facebook group. Hello, Broker Talk. If you're seeing this, we're going to get started in about 20 seconds, guys. Those of you watching the replay, like I said, you might want to fast forward a few seconds. And those of you, if you're logging on live with us, thank you. Hello. All right, man. Are you good on your end?
I'm good.
Let's roll. All right. You guys, we're back for round 20 of the Broker Showdown. And I mean, every episode is amazingly special because I'm joined with really amazing people. But if this is your first time and you're like, what is this? I was scrolling and I don't know what this Broker Showdown thing's all about. Short version is I get to interview really, really cool people who are leaders in the real estate industry, specifically oftentimes broker owners like my special guest today, my friend today, Brian. And the rules of the game, if there are such a thing as rules, are each of us gets to ask the other person 3 questions. Neither person knows what the hell we're going to ask each other. So it's a little fun. It's edgy. It's on the fly. And yeah, we just get to learn from people that are doing really big things, serving people at a high level. And today is no exception to that. So joining me today is Brian Hourigan. He is a friend above all else. He and Brian and I don't remember, man. We go back enough years, almost 10, probably 10.
Probably at least 10.
It is 10. I was there in 2015.
No,
so I don't want to steal his thunder, but broker owner of Choice Residential. I'll let him explain more about Choice and all of that. But just on a personal note, he is one of the most authentic, genuine, high-minded leaders I know. And I know a lot. And I know, no offense to anybody else, but Brian is the real deal. Runs a very successful business in the Raleigh Triangle area of North Carolina. But when he steps in a room, he instantly makes everybody around him better. He's attended our events and just everybody leaves there raving about, hey, I really like that Brian guy. Or when Brian said this, it just seems to resonate. So for that, I'm so grateful that we get to do this together, man. And so I'm going to shut up. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, the brokerage, and we'll get rolling.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate that. So I am Brian Hourigan. I'm the founder, owner of Choice Residential. We're primarily in the Raleigh, North Carolina, the greater metro Raleigh area. We do have a few agents kind of scattered throughout the state because they've relocated personally and didn't want to leave the brokerage. So we've made accommodations to be able for them to sell real estate in other parts of the state, but we're primarily focused on the Triangle. We have almost 300 agents at Choice. And I started the company in May of 2018. It was just me and my assistant as an agent. When I started the company, I got out of production, but before that, she was my assistant, and now she is our office administrator, does all kinds of stuff, has been through every step of this journey alongside me. But that was how we started, just us and a dream, and here we are.
Yeah, well, you're doing it, man, and incredible growth. You said almost 300 agents now?
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. So just real quick, give us a glimpse then, just framing this whole conversation. What are some goals that you have for this year? And if you're looking, I mean, why not? Shameless plug. If you're looking to grow some more, what does an ideal agent look like, sound like, whatever, that would be attracted to Choice?
Yeah. So, interestingly, as much as I encourage agents to set really meaningful goals for themselves, as a brokerage, we don't really actually set growth goals. The reason why we, of course, want to grow, but the reason why we don't set specific, SMART goals, specific, measurable, actionable, all this stuff, is we are really intentional about focusing on what we do every day, the things we do to provide value. And right or wrong, my philosophy is we will grow to the extent that we're supposed to if we keep doing that. So, I could throw out random numbers about, well, it would be great if we were at this number by this time, but honestly, it doesn't matter. Our mission is to keep showing up every day and doing what we do. As far as the ideal agent, I mean, of course, a lot of agents can find a lot of value, and we can support a lot of different types of agents. I mean, we have a coaching program dedicated just to newly licensed agents. Of course, we, work with the locker room on that. But, if I were to just define, I guess, who is that like ideal agent avatar, it is somebody that has at least a little bit of experience. So anywhere from, done a handful of transactions to been doing it for 30 years, but has a little bit of experience at least. The ideal agent probably is somebody that wants to build a relationship type of business. So where they're generating referrals and past client business, and they're connecting with the people in their ecosystem and want to develop relationships and grow that way. That's probably a great fit. An ideal agent is somebody that wants to plug in. We're very intentional about building community within our agent population. And so, again, you don't have to. We don't look down on the people who don't come to social events and don't come to trainings, but we are very intentional about bringing people together in real life in this increasingly remote and digital world. And so people that like that hunger for that want that human connection, we are intentional about bringing that as well. So.
I love that. And you and I have had some fun going back and forth over the years of recruiting and and it all in good fun, of course, but I love that. And it's so rare when you hear that, where basically my interpretation of what you said is we just focus on delivering value every single day, going above and beyond, delivering that +1 value experience. And things kind of tend to work out. I mean, obviously they work out with growth because people probably can't wait to tell their peers and their friends about how wonderful it is to work there. So it's just a really unique take. And again, to each their own, but it's working for you, rather than setting, with all due respect, where you and I met, quotas and production numbers that just stresses you out as a leader, all in the name of just collecting licenses. So I do really admire the way you've set up your brokerage and keeping the values front and center. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, the reality is of course, we want agents to grow to the extent they want to grow, but we're very also purposeful about holding up a mirror and saying, like, look, you don't have to tell me your goals because you think I want to hear something. You're answering to yourself. This is you and you need to want what you want, not want what you think other people want you to want. And that's a big difference. And so that idea of pursuing happiness and joy in life, that's what we want. And we're just the real estate side of the joy in your life. But we want you to live a fulfilled life, and that, so whatever that looks like for each person is, that's what it is. Yeah. But I mean, look, that's the way I led my business as an agent. I didn't track metrics and things like that. I tracked, how I treated people. And it worked out okay as an agent. It seems to be working out okay as a brokerage.
It's awesome. Yeah. I think a lot of us, myself included, need that reminder, so appreciate that. I probably should have done this before, but real quick, if you don't know me and this is our first time hanging out, my name's Jake. Yes. Serial entrepreneur, man. I feel like I'm always throwing up new verticals or creating new things, but founder, owner, CEO of the Locker Room Real Estate Coaching and Training Company. We do specialize in partnering with leaders like Brian and brokerages at large, providing solutions to all things relative to growth, retention, productivity, and profitability. I also am partners in business with Kit, who is co-founder in the Locker Room Leadership and Coaching Academy, which is an ICF accredited institution. And finally, I'm getting ready to launch the coaches brokerage for any independent coaches out there who are looking for community, plug and play, white labeled resources. It's going to be a fun little, not so little business running with other coaches doing big things in the industry. So that's enough about me. Brian, are you ready to roll, man? We can talk.
I'm a little scared. I'm a little nervous, but let's do it. I'm here for it.
That's good. I mean, I didn't sleep last night thinking, how can I trip him up? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is not about tripping each other up. Okay. So my first question for you is this. Let's say, actually, it was real. I was living in the Triangle area, but humor me for a minute. Let's pretend that an agent like me, I was an agent in your market right now. And maybe I'm considering making a move for whatever my reasons could be. Give me, if you would, a condensed version, or what you would say is your unique value proposition as to why an agent like me should consider joining your brokerage, especially doing so without disparaging others. So that's my question.
All right. Well, I will first say a condensed version of me talking about Choice Residential. You may have to rein me in. I tend to get excited and love to talk about choice and the way we see the world. And how that, can impact and relate to agents. But I guess if I was to pull it back and in a nutshell, what is Choice all about? What is our value proposition? Is that we focus on the things that you can't write a check for. We focus on things that you can't pay for rather than the things you can pay for. And so I guess what that means to me is, a piece of technology, a tool, a resource, a training program, a fancy office. These are all things that literally you can write a check for. And so if a brokerage doesn't have that, they can write a check and then they can have that thing. So when I say we focus on things you can't write a check for, it is the belief in servant leadership. It is focus and accountability to how we show up every day. It's being in service to our agents and wanting to and believing in building community with our agents. Because if we do that, if we respect our agents and we believe in the never-ending feedback loop of what's important to our agents, then there's a trust that we're going to provide the tangible things. That's easy. That's writing a check. We believe that the brokerage, and this isn't something I think you can just write down. This is something that, and it be true, you have to just show up and live this every day. But we believe that the brokerage exists solely for the benefit of the agents, not the other way around. So our job is to figure out how to support and make an agent's life better. The agent's not there to make us money. Our job is to create an environment where every day the agent wakes up and they choose to be with us again that day. So not taking anything for granted, not assuming that we have all of the right answers. So all of these kind of intangible philosophical beliefs, that's our value proposition over just some tangible thing that you can write a check for.
Well said, by the way. Love that. Just on a personal opinion note here, I wrote down a couple of things, whether it's my interpretation or literally what you said, if I can repeat it back. Number one, you basically said at the core of it all, our perspective, the way we view the brokerage itself, is that we work for the agents. The agents don't work for you, right? Is that a fair? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that a fair way of rephrasing that?
Exactly right.
Okay. All right. I also love, I've never heard you say this before. The things that you can't write a check for, all the intangibles, leadership, service, culture / community. And you do that in such a way that aren't just things, fancy words slapped up on a training room wall somewhere. You are forced to live that authentically every day.
Yeah.
And yep.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but the way I look at culture, because culture gets thrown around a lot. And if you were to go talk to our agents, if you surveyed our almost 300 agents, probably all of them, if you were saying, hey, tell me the top 3 things you like about Choice, our culture is going to be in there for probably every single one of them. But it's a weird thing to me because I don't think you can't just say, here's the culture I want to have. And you write out like, what would a great culture be? And then reverse engineer that and then say, okay, here are the things I need to do to lead me to that great culture. I don't think it works that way because then it's inauthentic. You're trying to come up with an algorithm to create a great culture. And it doesn't work that way because on day 1, I had 0 agents at Choice. And on day 2, I have 2 agents or whatever it is. And over time, we continue growing and adding agents. And ultimately, yes, when we have 5 agents, I maybe am a big driver of the culture because I'm one of 6 people at the company. Yeah. But at 300 agents, I don't think you can rely on leadership to maintain the culture. It has to be ultimately the agents maintaining the culture. But how does that happen? Well, they follow what the leaders are doing. And as they join, they on day 1 are buying into what we stand for. And therefore, they just move into this kind of magnetic force that is the rest of the company and the rest of the agents who are already bought into that. And it just keeps feeding on itself. But I can't write down all the things we do that our agents love about Choice, right? Here's this type of training or meeting, the social things we do, the daily videos, the weekend wrap. I can't just say, here are all the things we do. You take that and go do it over here. But without the same belief system, without the same intentional focus on showing up for your agents and being fair to your agents and putting them first, you can't do all the tangible things and it just lead to a great culture. it's all of those intangibles that matter. And so that's why I don't think you can start and say, oh, let me define a great culture, reverse engineer it. No, I think the culture is a result of how you show up every day.
Leave Brian some love in the comments if you're connecting with what he's saying right now. And just on a nerdy coaching front, let me ask this differently. Do you question for a minute whether he means what he says and he says what he means? Did you see what I saw? He's literally leaning forward, body language expert, right? The tonality of his voice, he got quicker with his pace and the volume, right? These are all indicators that what he's projecting, agree or disagree, it is in here. It went from head to heart. And I think that's really special. Brian, you might remember this. It was 2 years ago by now. In 90 days, I spoke to 100 broker owners who were not with the locker room outside. Okay. And I asked them a series of questions, kind of a focus group sort of research project of mine. One of the questions is the very question I just asked you. And without a shadow of a doubt, that is the single greatest missing link to brokerage's growth or is the lack of clarity on what makes them unique, because every one of them basically repeated back to me, well, see, it's the caps, it's the splits, it's the fees, it's the tech stack. No. And that's similar to your point. Those are all the things that what'd you say? You could write a check for. And your unique value proposition, speed of the leader, speed of the team, is actually centered on the value, the service, and all the intangibles. I think that's really, really different in today's, ultra competitive brokerage landscape.
Well, and for anyone who's an agent who's watching and you're thinking about how does this relate, because obviously I was an agent, a successful agent before I went down the path of starting the brokerage. And I would tell our agents this today. I say, look, don't focus on, if you go on a listing appointment, you better not think that your secret weapon is the marketing plan that you're putting in front of them, because you go down that list of everything on your marketing plan and any other agent can do that too. They can pay for professional photos and drone photography and Matterport and staging and run Facebook ads and do mailers and open houses, all that stuff they can do. The way you differentiate yourself is by caring about the seller, the person across the table, and conveying that you care and showing them how you can help them accomplish what they want to accomplish. Those are the things that matter. And I don't think you can fake it, or you can't fake it for very long. Eventually the truth shows up, right? So I think that's it. You start at the core of what you believe in, and you double down on that. And I think you said it before, you trust that it's all going to work out. And I think when you treat people right, it tends to work out. So,
yeah, I know we're spending a lot of time on this one. It's just so important. So I have one just quick follow-up and then I'll shut up and it's your turn to ask me a question. But if I'm watching this right now, writing down, taking notes, I'm just naturally curious, man. What was the inspiration? Was there an inspiration for going about growing a brokerage the way you have? Was it due to a experience you didn't like and you said, you know what, I'm going to do the opposite of that? Like, where did this come from philosophically?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a couple things. There certainly was a moment, and there's a part of just who I am as a person. So I'll touch on both of those, I guess. The moment was I got into a leadership role with my previous company, and when I kind of saw behind the curtain, I realized maybe I was just always kind of had blinders on intentionally. I don't know, but when I realized that profit was the only thing that mattered in that world. And when I made the decision that I was no longer aligned with that, and I went out and started talking to other brokerages, I realized that's all they care about too. Everybody just cares about making profit. And I get it. When you start a company in any industry, so real estate's no different. The reason you start a company is to generate profit and generally to maximize profit. But I don't know, we're all independent contractors. That just didn't align with me. I felt like the brokerage was supposed to serve the agent. And so how is it that the brokerage could be putting so much weight on maximizing profit on the backs of the agent? So it just, as an agent-minded person, it didn't sit well with me. So that was the thing that I guess led me down the path to starting and thinking about what choice would look like. But the character trait in me that maybe leads to all of this and my way of thinking, because it was the same way as an agent. I just wanted to take care of my people, and the money was an afterthought. Even when I was broke and I had no money and I was in debt, the money had to be an afterthought, or else I didn't feel like I could treat the people the way they needed to be treated if I was just worried about the money. So that has always carried through. But the trait about me is that this can be a weakness or a strength. I take it as a strength, is that I care what people think about me. And it's important to me that if I see you in the grocery store, that I don't ever have to hide from someone, because I know I've always treated them fairly. And so whatever that takes for me to rectify that in my mind, to know that I'm treating somebody fairly, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to err on the side of being overly fair, because I just want to make sure that nobody ever thinks Brian took advantage of me. There was a bait and switch. I can't do that. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So that's what, helps, if nothing else, make sure I err on the side of always treating everybody more than equitably.
I love that. Yeah, thanks. I totally cheated the system. I've just asked you like 55 questions, but that was one. That only counts as one. It's my show.
Okay.
All right, over to you, man. What do you got for me? First question.
All right. So here's a question that I think you and I can relate to. But so when we think about success and the journey to success as real estate agents or leaders within the industry, they often think it's just a straight line. They don't see all of the bumps in the road on that journey to success. So knowing some of your background, I guess I'd like you to speak on, my question is, how many times during your journey to where you are now, since you've gotten into real estate, has your path, what you thought your destination was going to be, how many times has that changed? And then what advice would you give to somebody, whether it's an agent or a leader, about viewing those changes in trajectory or U-turns or whatever they are, and viewing them as opportunities of growth rather than setbacks in their career?
Oh, okay.
I know that's heavy.
That's a heavy one. That's a big question. I'm going to do my best here for you. So, two-parter, it sounds like, I guess. How many times, and essentially what would I share or coach somebody back with? So, oh man, you're going to force me to be a little vulnerable too. I'll start here. I just went through this in a big way, actually, myself in Q4 of last year. Okay. But the truth is, to kind of to your question, I've been through this countless times, dude. Like every day, actually, it feels like a small correction. I mean, it's just constant, right? And initially, transparent moment, initially, I thought something was wrong with me. And it gave me some, like, people call it imposter syndrome, which is where leadership can often feel very lonely. It can feel very isolating. And there's actually an analogy I'm thinking of where, just like a spaceship or a rocket going to the moon, right? It's literally off course over 97% of the time. Crazy, right? Think of all the Apollo missions. It's just this constant course correction, right? And so I kind of see business, I guess, the same way now, but that wasn't always the case. Time on task and doing something long enough has given me the wisdom and experience, which often is the greatest teacher, right? I know my target. I know the moon shot, right? I know where I'm headed, but it requires that constant focus, constant readjusting along the way. So here's the advice, second part of, I guess, your question, that I would give someone when they experience this too, and they may see it as, I think you said, like a potential setback or something. My advice would be, bluntly speaking, accept it. Expect it, actually. It's normal. In fact, it's healthy, I would argue. As long as you have clarity of purpose, you know that why, that deep conviction from within, the impact you want to make on others, then I believe the why will always supersede any how. You'll figure out the how as long as you keep going, right? I remember a leader actually shared something with me when I was in a season of doubt a few years ago. Things were changing, not growing how I wanted them to, and I began to question things. I began to second guess myself, tempted to just nuke the whole thing and start over, or make some dramatic changes. But then I read this. Something to the effect of historically 5+ reinventions will be necessary to get you to your desired level of growth and profitability. And then it went on to say something like this: the lack of comprehending this reinvention reality and then living that is the number one reason for failure or mediocre success. When I read that or saw whatever it was, I'm like, I was set free. I'm like, oh, so I'm not alone. In fact, what I'm going through right now and all these thoughts is normal. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, just like the rocket to the moon who's constantly readjusting 97% of the time. My business is the same vehicle. I see the moon, I know where I want to go, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm making these constant tweaks and readjustments along the way. So again, if that's you, first off, congrats. All right. You're in good company and you're not alone. You're not broken. You don't need fixed. You just need to stay the course while recalibrating and making those minor adjustments along the way that align with where you ultimately desire to go. So did I answer it?
Yeah. I want to challenge you or peel back the onion a little bit too on that, because you're in your metaphor or analogy, whatever it is, you're heading for the moon. But I would also say you're heading for outer space, and it may be the moon, or it may be Mars, or it may be Jupiter, but you're heading to outer space. Because when I think about your career, you started off after baseball. You had, if I'm remembering correctly, you had a training center, right? And you have like a sports development kind of company. And then you became a real estate agent. And then you went into leadership, became a team leader. And then you relocated across the country to become an assistant team leader, on a path to become a team leader at a new office. And then you went into productivity coaching, and then you launched your own company. And so a lot of that was in the same realm. It was, in real estate, but, so your where you were headed, it was very different when you were a team leader in what, Quad Cities? Is that what, and
good memory, by the way.
Team leader there, then the journey to being in productivity coaching, then starting your own company. And so any of those moments where the things changed, it could feel like a very different trajectory, and it would be easy to see some of those things as failures, and they're not, they're evolutions. And
I'll accept that feedback or restatement. Yeah, it's what's that quote, man? There's something like, shoot for the moon and you always land amongst the stars,
right?
Like that. Yeah. That's kind of what you're reminding me of. It's a game of ping pong. Like, I don't know, I'm going to outer space, baby, and I don't know exactly what I guess planet I'm going to land on, but I'm getting outer space because here you go, cheesy, because the sky is not the limit.
Yeah, well, I love it. The idea that you're going far and you're going high, that's what I take out of it. And some of the details about what happens along the way are almost irrelevant, so not irrelevant, they aren't the end of the story.
Well, right. And I think that being another lesson from your initial question is, if you're watching this, you're listening to this right now, and any of that's connecting with you, don't forget, and I don't mean this in like a Tony Robbins foo-foo kind of way, like, dude, enjoy the journey. Just embrace the journey. Is it really just about the destination? I mean, there's a lot of gurus, myself included as a coach, who really believe that it's not just about achieving said goal. It's the person that it requires you to become along the way. So don't forget to slow down and appreciate the journey. Look around to your right and left. Enjoy the view and scenery every once in a while, because there is so many gifts in that along the way versus just, did I get there or did I not?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I feel like I've lately been on this, not kick, but, reading things and listening to things about the meaning of life and joy. And unfortunately, it seems like a lot of times you don't realize until the end of your life that the journey was the destination. And so, but it takes, you hope that it's not the end of your life that you gain that perspective. So I think the more we talk about that, the more it becomes not just a cliche. And we can start to find happiness and joy in the grind of the journey sometimes. And that's okay. That's part of the fun. So
amen to that. Amen to that. Big question. Great question. And I'm kind of nervous now. You got two more for me. See what you got. But my turn to ask you a second question. You ready?
Go for it.
All right. My second question is this. You and I have spent some time in some rooms together where we're talking about the future and AI and how the industry is going to change. So this is kind of like an impossible question to ask, but I'm just curious of your thoughts.
Okay.
So if we were to sit here and look, I don't know, 1 year, let alone 3 to 5 years into the future, what advice would you give a real estate agent watching this right now so that they would remain relevant and, let's say, at the center of the relationship and or transaction into the future, especially when software and artificial everything is trying to theoretically replace us and remove us from that equation? What would an agent be doing right now from Coach Brian's point of view to stay relevant well into the future?
So while it is maybe a big question and an impossible question, it's maybe the easiest question you could ask me, because what I would tell an agent is the same thing that I've always been telling them, which is that they need to wrap their arms around their people, and their people being their sphere of influence, their past clients, everybody that's encompassed in that kind of sphere of influence category, that they need to be really intentional about staying in front of them in a real estate context all the time. Because what we have the benefit of as agents is we have these relationships. As just individual agents, we have relationships with human beings, with people. There is so much money coming into our industry, and I won't name any names because they're all technically brokerages, and so I won't say any names, but there are big companies that have billboards and radio ads and TV ads, and their ads chase you all over the internet, and every single person in your database knows their name. But they are, even if their name is actually a person's name, they are in fact just a faceless entity. They are just an entity. And the reason they have to spend all that money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month or more in advertising, is because they don't have relationships. So they have to take like the retailer's approach. And, you, God forbid, you go look at shoes on Cloud's website. On Cloud is going to be everywhere you look, okay? In your inbox, everywhere on the internet. So these companies in real estate are doing that too, because they don't have relationships. So they have to use kind of tried and true and tested, advertising tactics to get market share and to get business. But we don't. We're agents. We have relationships with humans, with people. And we, with a little bit of effort, can stay in front of them in a real estate context. And whatever that might be, I won't go into all the details of what the execution of that is. I mean, direct mail or, newsletters and pop buys and texts and calls and all the stuff you can do to stay front and center, but it has to be consistent and it has to be often. I've heard before that people forget about you every 21 days. And so they may love you and they may care about you, and they may actually do business with you. Even if you never touch base with them, you never get in front of them, they're going to, when they need to buy or sell a house, they're going to come to you. And sometimes agents kind of rest on that, and they say, well, that person's going to use me. And it's like, well, yeah, they're going to use you, but they only transact every 10 or 15 years. What about all the referral opportunities they've had along the way? So staying in front of people, staying front and center. Of course, it starts with, you have to be an amazing real estate agent, right? You've got to bring value. But technology doesn't create that. You being present, you caring, you helping peel the onion with your clients to figure out the best solutions for them. AI is just going to tell them what they want to hear. They can't get real professional guidance from AI. They need a person who cares, understands, and can help tease out the important things. There's an expression that says buyers are liars. Well, buyers aren't liars. They just need professional help to extract what is important to them. And that's where we come in as humans. So it starts with being a great real estate agent, of course, but the reason you stay in front of them in a real estate context from a marketing perspective is so that you're always top of mind, so that when their neighbor or coworker or friend from church or whatever it is has a real estate need, they're thinking, oh yeah, I need to give them Brian's name, because they love you and they trust you and they'll use you. But if you don't force them to remember you, they aren't going to think of you in the moments where they can place a referral. So if agents would just hone in on that, all of the big money in real estate would be gone overnight, because people want to work with people, right? Consumers want to work with people, not just some faceless entity that sends a robot out, not technically or not actually a robot, but sends an agent out that doesn't care. It's just a job. It's just a sales call. That's not what consumers want. They want people to help them.
Some really big points there. Yeah, it turns out that emotional intelligence still matters, not to mention the skill set of the individual themselves. But wrote down a couple of things to that, man. First of all, I never heard the 21 days thing. I'm going to look further into that. I hadn't heard that before. That's actually scary and interesting at the same time. But what I wrote down, and kind of there's a question in here too for you. I believe, especially post COVID, I've been preaching constantly about building your quote unquote database, your sphere of influence deep, like deep connections, deep relationships, when so many others are just interested in building it wide. How many likes and followers and all those, what's my CRM number, right? When I really don't know those people. So I guess flipping that around, do you believe the same? It sounds like you might, but right now, especially more than ever, it's our chance to build deep, meaningful relationships that actually take root, more so than the importance of building a massive database just for the sake of the number. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I 100% agree with that. The massive database strategy, you know, that kind of sales mentality. I mean, I think that has just watered down the industry, to be honest with you, because it's, to me, it's the antithesis of relationship building. It's inauthentic relationship building. So, you know this, but when I was, kind of at the peak in my production years in 2017, before I started Choice, I had about 300 people in my, quote, database, but these were all people I knew. I mean, these were past clients and friends or neighbors or whatever. And those were the people that I stayed in front of. So they were going to hear from me in a real estate context, at least twice a month. And from that, in 2017, I sold 60 houses. So that's when you look at the ratio of, basically 5 to 1 for every 5 people in that database that I was connecting with on a regular basis, one transaction came out of it. So I think that's proof right there that you don't have to go wide to do that. You just have to care. I mean, look, I don't know how anybody has the bandwidth to actually connect with 5,000 people in a database that's getting all their stuff. It's just a numbers game. And I don't like that. I mean, to me, it's not a numbers game. It's a human being game. I mean, there are people at the end of all of these transactions. They aren't leads. That gets tossed around in our industry all the time. Oh, leads. They're not leads. These are human beings. They aren't things to be owned or distributed. These are people. So I think if you try to go, you take the paint with a broad brush approach and you send everything out and throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. I don't know. That isn't the real estate industry that I know. It's about pouring into people and being there to add value to them when they need it. And that's what we can do. The big companies with billboards are going to, they're throwing spaghetti at the wall and they don't care. They're not people. For them, they are leads. To me, it's people at the end of this.
That's what you call a mic drop. I'm gonna have a sore neck because even when I'm off screen, I'm doing like this the whole time. Like, yes, Brian, bring it, preach, buddy. And yeah, there's something like for every one of those 300 people in your database example, isn't it something like the average person also has 200 something people that they know by name and strong connection, which is that network effect where I don't have to know them, but as long as I treat the person I do know like royalty, they're going to refer me to that person. It takes care of itself.
Look, it doesn't take a genius to see the similarities between how I ran my business as an agent and how I run Choice, which is I paid attention to those 300 people, but because of that, they were going to introduce all the 250 people they knew to me when the time came. The same thing at Choice. I won't call. In fact, I met with an agent this morning. I said, look, I'm so glad you're here and she's joining. And I said, but I never would have called you. If you didn't raise your hand, that's not what we do. We take care of our people and then our people take care of us. And I think if you take that approach, you're going to win in life, but especially real estate.
That's a cool philosophy, man. I love it. Great job.
Well, look, the Zig Ziglar I'm not one just on cliches, but his quote is up in my office of you can get whatever you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And if you take that as a genuine way to live your life, the rest takes care of itself.
Amen. You're living proof. You're doing it. Don't change.
Thank you. Yeah.
All
Are
right.
you ready for your second question?
I'm ready. What you got for me?
I got the biggest, hardest one out of the way first. So, I mean, I think this one will be
Okay.
easy in your realm. So, you do a lot of public speaking in front of large groups. So one-on-one, you're great, but you're also great in front of an audience full of people. I guess I'm just wondering what your preparation for that is like, even for someone like me that I speak to, decent sized groups sometimes. I get nervous, and just curious what your preparation is leading into these kind of keynote type of speaking engagements.
I've never been asked that before. So, all right, let me take it back first before I answer that. So, to frame this, that's a great question. By no means, first of all, am I an expert speaker, but I do have a lot of experience with this over the years. It's just yes. And so just like anything, I've learned it by doing it. All right. I've never done a formal speaking class of any kind, like Toastmasters and other things. I never done train the trainer, train the presenter when I was with Keller Williams. Like I've never had any formal training of any kind for public speaking. I just learned by doing, right? I am willing to fail. I am willing to sound dumb. I'm willing to look dumb. I don't care. Yes, I wear hats. If that offends you, oh well. But I'm also willing to pause, Brian, and I'm willing to pause and study you've heard me say this before, study my game film afterwards. I do a lot of sports references to learn what would I do better next time? What went right? What didn't go so great? And so I can always reflect and master my craft of how I was presenting something, for example. But keep in mind, however, I was the guy in high school speech class who got it literally a C minus. True. Okay. So what? And I was that dude that had a bright red face. I was so nervous, so embarrassed in front of my tiny little class. I had the paper in front of my face, just reading like this off of it so I could get the heck off stage and just be done with it. True story, that was me. I'm pretty sure probably the only reason I passed anyways was because my neighbor was the speech class teacher. Hello, you know who you are if you're watching this. So anyways, I'm kidding, but kind of. So to your question with preparation, the biggest thing for me has been, I would say, let me give 3 areas if anybody's like taking notes actually on this. Number 1, I've learned to stick to what I know. Okay. What am I passionate about? What I have authentic experience in, what I've developed over the years for systems, what others even turn to me for. I pay attention to that, what they come to me seeking counsel or advice about. What are those topics? And frankly, the areas where I know I've had real impact, I can speak authentically to those things because I can point to the scoreboard and there's really numbers up there for it. I am not, in other words, the fake it till you make it type, because people can see right through that, especially when you're on stages and things. Like, I'm not going to have Chat GPT create some outline for me and I'm just going to go memorize that speech and go present it. People will feel, they'll be able to tell that's not really authentically me. That's number 1. Number 2, early on, all right, I'm tattling on myself a little bit, but early on, I was my Chat GPT. Let's pretend. I would literally sit there and type every word that I thought I wanted to say out on a Word document, coming up with my own talking points. Now, this might sound weird, but I'm a good writer. My thoughts move a million miles an hour, and luckily, so do my fingers. I'm a really fast typer. So in the early days, it helped me diminish a lot of my nervousness around public speaking when I could just freely type or write and get all of my thoughts out. I knew what I wanted to say. I had no shortage of words, trust me, but I needed to package it up or articulate it in a way that landed with the audience. So I'd start just by typing and going back through it 10 different times until it sounded like me and became second nature and logical so I could finally present it. So that's a little pro. I don't do that anymore. Third one. Now, I love it. I love speaking in front of groups. It comes natural. There is no nervousness anymore, thank goodness. And that's just because of a lot of time on task over time. That's it. So my preparation now, long-winded answer, is often in the form of prepared materials that I have learned to stick to with workbooks, slide decks, etc. And then how I present it varies just based on real stories, metaphors, examples that I weave into the material. So it's never the same because I'm never using the same stories. But the raw material itself rarely will change because I believe they're principles, and principles don't really change. The content is the content, but I bring it to life with different stories and metaphors, if that makes sense. So again, what am I passionate about? What am I knowledgeable about? What do I have a strong track record of success in? And if anything, the early days of typing all that stuff out, like I mentioned, has led me to be a very good, or I think decent, very good at writing courses, creating resources. Heck, I authoring books. So it turns out that a lot of that, I think I didn't intend for it at the time, also has benefited me in some of these other areas along the way too.
That's awesome. Love that.
Yeah.
All very good tips. I appreciate you breaking down into 3 tips there for me to take away.
Yeah, I try. It's just like, what would I want to hear if somebody asked me that, or if I was able to ask that to somebody? But dude, it's what I think it's still real. Isn't people's number one fear public speaking or something like that?
I'm sure that's probably still true.
Yeah. In some of those early days, this is where all this is just blah, is I would try to speak on things I had no business speaking about. And it's like, this just doesn't feel good. Even if it makes sense, I don't like it. And so now I'm just accepting of when, like next week, I'm going to Oklahoma City to speak to a group of broker owners out there. And if they would have said, Jake, we need you to speak on the AI or how to get 90 listings in 90 days, I'd say, I'm not your guy. Let me refer you. Like I approach those opportunities with abundance and crystal clarity. But instead, if they want to look at, here's my menu of things I am capable and very good at presenting, if any of these strike you. So I'm not chasing those opportunities anymore. It's like, here's what I got. And if there's value here, put me in, coach. I'm ready. If not, maybe I can refer you to somebody else, because the last thing I'm going to do is stand up in front of your group, especially if you're paying money to do it, on something that I just have no business talking about.
So you dictate kind of what the content is going to be. You don't just say, somebody doesn't just want you to come speak and you speak on what they want. You're saying, here are the options. Here's my menu.
That's how I've learned to do it.
What would you like me to speak on? Okay.
That's correct.
Good.
Here's
You're
your
not having
menu.
to do it every time.
No. So last point to this, but so next week when I fly into Oklahoma City, when I get to my hotel, I might spend 15 minutes looking at my slide deck and going through some notes just to get it fresh. But I don't have to. I'll show up that morning of and deliver it like a rock star, because it's in me. I got it. I'm locked in. And I'm just pulling stories. Recently, I've been pulling stories from the Olympics in real time, and there's no scripting to that. The content is what it is. I've got it locked in. But what brings it to life is real stories, examples, metaphors to further support the points or learning lessons within it.
Awesome. Thank you.
There you go. Great question. I've never been asked that before. That was fun. All right. I think I've got one more for you, man. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. My last question. I always like the reflective questions a little bit. So looking back and knowing what you know now, your turn to be maybe vulnerable with us. What mistakes, or a mistake, pitfalls, if you will, have you had to overcome during your journey? And if you can think of one or maybe two, what were the lessons that you learned from it, and how did those lessons help shape who you are today?
Okay. Well, that's interesting. This is not maybe going to be a great answer. I'm trying to in real time think back through the last 8 years. I don't think of the things that have happened, the missteps, the mistakes, the pitfalls. I can't think of anything in this moment that I would go back and say, well, if I could go back in time and reshape the way I did everything in the decisions, that I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that thing, because that was all part of what did get me here. So I guess what shaped me is the willingness to try something and maybe it doesn't work out, and then you just claw it back and you go a different way. Most of the decisions we're faced with making, or that I've been faced with making as an agent and as an owner, they're not permanent decisions. There's technologies we've rolled out. We've rolled out mentorship programs that fell flat on their face and caused me more stress and headaches than I ever wish they did. But they were important because that's all part of the evolution to get us to where we are now, where the coaching program is, or what technology stack we have, is because of all the crappy stuff we tried and didn't work out. So maybe the lesson in that is think up front, because usually you're not going to make a decision if it didn't make sense on paper. So think about it, make it make sense on paper, and then be quick to make that decision. I would say don't belabor the point unless it's a decision that is going to change the trajectory of your life and you can't claw back. Once you've rationalized it to the point of, okay, it's time to make the decision, just do it. And put your best into it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, go back and pivot and do something else, and just be okay with that. I don't look at any of them as failures, but if somebody does, then change the way you're looking at that. It's not a failure. It's just strengthening your process along the way. One other thing I'll share is that at one point during the existence of our company, we weren't making any money. My operating account got as low as like $3,500 at one point. And that's fine if you're a real estate agent and you can really just with the snap of a finger not have any expenses. That doesn't work it didn't work in my environment, where I had a lot of agents and there was no money, but trusting in the process, because I was just always reinvesting back into the company. And, that's a moment where for me, I had to really look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, how much do I believe in what I'm doing? How much do I believe in my principles and my vision and what Choice stands for? And am I going to stick to that because I believe this is right? I believe this is what agents want. I believe this is what the industry needs. And being willing to stick to that, it was very front and center that what if it doesn't work? But that was a quick moment of reflection and doubt, and then saying, yeah, no, this is right. This is going to work. It's going to work because this is what's supposed to happen. And, blew through that, and the rest is history. So, there are moments of what can feel like absolute terror, and that's okay. And then there are just all the minor things that go wrong along the way. And again, that's just strengthening.
Yeah. It tests your resolve. I think those are gifts, because it's I'm at a decision point. Do I have the conviction? Do I really believe in this? Am I a fair weather fan, or am I going to see this thing through because I'm reconnected with the whole why and purpose behind it? I wrote down a few things real quick. I heard basically speed of implementation. Just get to it. Just execute, which brings me to the next one. Fail forward faster. Accelerate the failure, the learning curve, if you will, and compress time by doing so. I heard a little John Maxwell in there somewhere. One of his books is you either win or you learn. There is no failure. Right? Those are learning opportunities. And finally, be decisive. Make a decision. You decided, Brian, you cut off every other option, even when the bank account's dwindling. Say, all right, what am I going to do? And that's a test of that resolve and that conviction. And look, again, I'm not saying you've arrived. I'm not trying to stroke your ego here, but it's dude, good thing you did. And I guarantee the agents, most of which you didn't even know at the time, are also glad that in those times when you were tested and you could have easily thrown in the towel, so many agents and people like me are thanking God that you didn't throw it in, man. Didn't quit. You were willing to grind through the struggle and see yourself out of it.
Well, I know we obviously have an impact on our agents. We are supporting the thing that they do for a living. So of course we have this impact on them in that way. But what's been really interesting over the last few years is and this actually happened this week with an agent I'm talking to, but spouses of our agents will come up to me and say, my wife is totally different. She has so much joy. She is rejuvenated in this business, or, some iteration of that. And I had an agent tell me this week who's joining, said, my husband is so happy. Once I had the resolve because this particular agent, by the time she came into my office to meet with me, she already knew she was joining. She was coming to make sure I was a real person, right? But she came in and she said, my husband told me last night that it looks, he can physically see in me, it looks like 1,000,000 pounds has been lifted off of my shoulders once I made the resolve to come join Choice. And it's like, man, it's obvious that if we're doing a good job as a brokerage, that we're having an impact on our agents. But then you see the impact that it has beyond their real estate sales, and their spouses recognize it. We had at our family picnic last year, we had one of our agents, her daughter came up and said, "I'm so happy you joined Choice." I mean, it's like, that is where it's really cool, right? Like it extends beyond just the direct impact you're having on their business. And it's like, but this is what I said before, like real estate is just a part of each agent's life. I mean, it isn't actually, I know sometimes it feels like it's their entire identity, but it isn't actually their entire identity. There's other stuff. And when you can impact that, and look, don't get me wrong, it's not like we set out every day to say, hey, how can we make it so that our agents' spouses are happier, but when it becomes a reality, like that is an effect of it, man, it's cool. And it does, I do have to remember sometimes, because I get tunnel vision on what we're doing. And, I had an agent say to me, this is off topic, but it just came to mind, so I'm going to say it. But I had an agent, many agents have said this, like, man, I wish I had found you guys sooner. And it's like, well, it happens when it's the right time, but it is also, it does make me aware. I mean, if I'm being vulnerable, that, this, like, not recruiting in the sense of, we don't call people who haven't asked to be called, right? So however you define recruiting, like, that's what we say is, like, if you haven't said, hey, I want to talk, we don't reach out to you. But then there's some element of me where when agents say, man, I wish I'd found you sooner, I'm like, gosh, am I doing a disservice by, like, are we letting people know that we exist well enough? So if you talk about a vulnerable moment or just a thought for me to ponder as life continues on, that's the one. But I don't know. We're just going to continue trying to have a positive impact, whatever that looks like.
That's awesome. Well, those little moments remind you why you do what you do, for sure. Aside from the production metrics and all the accolades and things, that's as real as it gets, dude. So congrats. Those stories never get old.
Thank you. All right, I've got a third question for you.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so maybe this is the easiest one, but this is actually one of the questions that I dread the most. Because I'm in a season of life, as you are, that is just very busy. But what do you do for fun? That's the question that sometimes stresses me out, believe it or not. So I'm going to ask you that question. What do you do for fun?
Well, that is fun. I like the lightheartedness of it. And by the way, the question that I dislike the most is, maybe I asked you. Well, I didn't ask you, but I kind of did earlier. I hate the question, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? I'm like, I don't know. I'm here. Anyway, I digress. So let's see. What do I do for fun? I win. I win. I mean, okay. That sounds arrogant. Let me explain. For real. Winning is fun to me. I have fun winning. I don't always win, but it's more fun when I win. Our college baseball coach would always say that to us players. He said, guys, there's going to be a difference between winning and losing, and you will know the difference. You will feel the difference. Okay, we're talking like running, but there's going to be a difference of winning and losing. He'd say everything is better when you win. Your food's going to taste better. You're going to sleep better. Your girlfriend's going to look better, etc. Whatever. And he's right. I'm not trying to play cutesy here, because in life, especially in real estate, there's no participation trophies. All right. So, but beyond winning, I don't think that's probably what you're asking me. I'll get a little on the personal side here. I love looking for, if anybody knows me at any degree, I love searching for Indian artifacts, like Native American artifacts. I'm talking arrowheads, things like that, out in local cornfields and creeks and stuff like that. I love playing with my kids and being involved in all areas of their lives, obviously, as well. I love playing with our dogs and being a big old softy and weirdo with them, who has a high-pitched voice that I'm not going to do right now with how I talk to them. I love fishing. I love being outdoors on the water, like boating and kayaking. Heck, I love antiquing and just appreciating the history of things. So I would say, in all, I am an experience guy. I love experiences, whether it's trying out a new restaurant, exploring a new place, traveling somewhere that we've always wanted to go. I don't know. I love experiences. I love new things, which is a lot of fun to me. So I don't know if that answers your question or if there's it's just pretty straightforward. But I would say otherwise, I'm a pretty, believe it or not, low key dude. I'm very easily entertained at the end of the day, and I don't require a whole lot. I exhaust a lot of my energy here at work, and sometimes when I'm home, I'm pretty chill, believe it or not.
Awesome. I think that answers it perfectly. I love the win part of it. Everything is more fun when you win.
I mean, yeah, and if you say it's not, you're lying to yourself, man. Somebody's feeding you a crock of crap, like,
You
and I
never
don't
won
know
very much.
what is winning to you. Everybody can define that, just like they can define their own definition of success. I'm here for it, but on its face, I'm just gonna say winning's better. You can't tell me that the United States hockey team is having more fun than the Canadian hockey team.
That's right.
There's your proof.
Yeah.
Winning matters. Winning is more fun. I rest my case.
Love it. Well done. Thank you. Well said.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. So we're going to close this out. I got to get my questions. Hang on. Always do the little bonus round here, rapid fire. I got like 4 questions for you, man. Super quick, rapid fire, and we'll land the plane. Does that sound
All
good?
right. Let's do it.
Okay. First question. Let people get to know Brian. What's your favorite movie?
Wizard of Oz.
Really?
We
I'm
just
not laughing at you. I wouldn't.
Yes,
have guessed
you are.
it.
You're laughing at me.
No.
But Wizard of Oz. Stacy and I actually just a few weeks ago went to Las Vegas to see the Wizard of Oz at the Sphere, which is amazing. And if you have an opportunity to do it, it's worth a flight to Vegas to go do that. But yeah, the Wizard of Oz. I don't know why. It's maybe the nostalgia thing from my childhood, but that movie, I've just always loved it, and to this day. And the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" is one of, if not my favorite song. And so, yeah.
Wow, man, I didn't know that. Ever you like Wicked too? Then I mean, you're a fan of all the
Yeah,
Wicked.
Wicked's fine. I mean, I enjoy watching movies in general and TV. That's a thing I do for fun. Is I actually like doing that stuff. I know we're not supposed to, but I do. So, but yeah, Wizard of Oz is it, and Wicked's cool. I like origin stories. So yeah, that's
Okay.
good too.
Okay, good. Check that box. All right. Do you have a unique talent, or if not, maybe just like a random fun fact about yourself that maybe not a lot of people know?
I don't think I have a talent, or if I have a special talent, I haven't like stored it in my brain to be able to bring out. So I don't know about a talent. Let's just say an interesting thing about me. I've been skydiving. So my wife and I went skydiving right after we met, and her dad actually tried to pay me to not do it. And my wife is the one that wanted to do it, and he tried to offer us money to not go skydiving, but we did. We went skydiving anyway.
Well, you're still here to talk about it. That's good. Third one is favorite vacation and why?
We've been to Italy. We like to travel a lot too. And Italy is always, we've been to different places in Italy, and that's always one of my favorites. A thing about me is I would love to time travel. Like, I think it would be so, like, that's just one of the things I wish was possible. I'd love to go back and see the way the world was in different times. And when I travel to Europe, really anywhere in Europe, but specifically Italy, that to me feels like as close as I can get to traveling back in time. And so I love it.
That's great. Well, let's round it out with one more, just real quick. Is there a little short, funny story, real estate blooper, strangest thing that's ever happened to you? Anything like that?
Well, that could be a really good question. When I was an agent, I always had the idea of, like, I would take pictures of funny stuff I would see. And I thought one day I'd put together like a book about all the funny and crazy stuff that happens. But then now, I feel like I've had all the normal stuff. Like, I've, gone into a house where like the seller was home and in the shower. I've walked in on the seller's teenager was home and smoking pot in the living room.
He says all the normal stuff, by the way. Keep going.
Yeah, well, I know, but I mean, these are like, walked in and there was somebody sleeping in the middle of the vacant house in the middle of the living room in a sleeping bag, and we thought it was a squatter or homeless person. It was just the seller's brother that had come and wasn't supposed to be there, but was. So some of my agents have had other, crazier stuff happen. People being passed away in the home. That's sad and terrible, but a thing that happens. And one agent showed up during a break-in home was being broken into.
My
And
God.
the agent showed up. So there's lots of crazy stuff out there. I haven't had anything that's off the wall, but yeah,
Well,
there you go.
there's some pretty good stuff there, actually. That's don't sell yourself short. It's good.
Yeah.
Brian, I know we went a little over, man. Forgive me, but this I've had a blast. This is fun. I've been looking forward to this episode for a while, and so thank you for your time and sharing what you've shared with us today. And just how could somebody, if it's an agent maybe in your market, a fellow broker owner who just wants to mastermind with you a little bit, whatever you're comfortable sharing, how can people reach you if they want to connect?
Actually, I'm actually really good at email. I know a lot of people are terrible at email these days. I'm pretty good with that. Brian at choiceresidential.com, Brian with an I. Choice Residential, you can follow us. I'm not personally, don't do much on social media, but choice_residential. If you want to see us on Instagram, and otherwise, yeah, you can email me or call me, or if you message me on Facebook, I'll see it, I'm sure. So,
yeah. Well, if they're watching it here on Facebook, obviously, you know how you can message Brian. But yeah, that's great, man. Thank you again so much. This has been great. And guys, this is the end of round 20 to the Broker Showdown. Hopefully, y'all found value. Let us know in the comments if you did. And we'll pick up. I think we've got next week. We're trying to do it every Thursday. I'm pretty sure we're back next week as well. No, we're not, because I'm in Oklahoma City. 2 weeks from now, we'll be back. So check you guys later. Thanks again.
Thanks.